What is up, everybody? Welcome back to This Week in the FCL as we continue our Spotlight series, shining a light on a competitor or personality in front of or behind the camera, getting to know them as a person, getting to know them as a character, getting to know them for their love of movie trivia. I am, of course, Keith Kilduff, and on this edition of our Spotlight series, I'm joined by a competitor whose record, in my opinion, does not in any way reflect his ability. He is the one and the only, the brass, Tom Chatalbash. Welcome, Tom, to our Spotlight series.
How's it going, Keith? Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here. And let's do this thing.
Definitely. Listen, you're a person who, in the kind of the first 15, 16 weeks, has definitely stood out to me anyway as a kind of analysis, kind of getting through all the FCL stuff week by week. And I just found you very, very interesting as a character, kind of the kind of person you're trying to play within the FCL and kind of your levels of knowledge. So I'm really, really excited to get into this kind of interview, kind of get to know you a little bit better. So I suppose it's kind of the obvious question, I guess, but what are your kind of first early memories of film growing up?
Oh, film. Let's see. I would honestly say the first movie I remember wanting to watch over and over again was Back to the Future, because it ended up being not only the first movie I obsessed over, but it ended up just becoming my favorite movie in general. And ever since I watched that movie, it gave me a whole different outlook on how to view movies and how special they can be if you really kind of analyze and appreciate every little beautiful detail of them. So it started from there. And then my dad was grateful enough, or nice enough rather, to kind of introduce me to some more adult movies when I probably shouldn't have watched them, like The Matrix or Sin City. I think he's still scarred by Sin City, because I remember he took me to see Sin City in the theater, and I remember he went up to the ticket booth and he's like, all right, one adult, one kid for Sin City, and the guy at the booth was like, are you sure you want to take him to see that movie? and then my dad's like, yeah, I want to take it. We've both been really looking forward to this movie. I want to take him to see it. He's like, all right. Because in the tickets, halfway through the movie, Bruce Willis gets punched. I have a bag of popcorn. The whole thing just goes flying. And literally everyone in the theater is looking at my dad like, you're a terrible father. Why did you do this? And we try to get my dad tries to get a refund when we leave the theater. And the guy's like, look, I warned you and you sat through the whole movie. What do you want me to do? I mean, I love the movie. So my dad was always a champ with that. And honestly, I think he opened my mind to a lot of more adult movies. And then my kind of love for movies kind of sprouted from there.
I remember for myself, I think Lion King was one of the first movies I went to, and obviously everything that kind of happened, that kind of scarred me for a few years. And then I remember for my birthday, my mom brought me to see Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with Ivan Ooze and all of that.
Good choice. Choice.
It just kind of eased me back into it. So I can definitely appreciate kind of there's something beautiful about that first movie that kind of just clicks at you and just kind of holds on to you. But I suppose Back to the Future, it's obviously Mr. Gilmore, our wonderful commissioner. It's a labor of love of his. But what is it about kind of Back to the Future that you feel has kind of held a sort of fandom throughout the years?
There's just something about it that is just so indescribably magical. Whether it's the music, the performances, the visual effects that, in my opinion, still hold up. It's a story that on paper should not work. I mean, it's a disgraced nuclear physicist and a high school kid, and they never explain why they're best friends. And yet we're just sure. and we just kind of go along with it. And it ends up being this amazing action adventure movie with great storytelling, a story that I feel was far ahead of its time, used the time travel mechanics so well, and just has those moments that still to this day give me chills, whether it's a good line delivery or whether it's that climax that I think hits all the perfect notes. It's movie magic to me at its finest, and it's just a movie that no matter how many times I watch it, it just puts a huge smile on my face and reminds me why I love movies and how movies can be so special, and how movies to me aren't just movies. There's something a lot more. And I feel a lot of people have kind of felt similarly about it. And it's everyone who has that as their favorite movie too. And I've met a lot of people like that, surprisingly. They all agree about the same thing. And that's kind of how we all click.
Is a big question, I suppose, in an era of reboots and remakes, do you think that it should ever be touched?
Nope. I knew where you headed with that. Nope.
That's
Nope, that's hands-off territory. If they go near it, man, I got picket signs, I got Sharpie markers, I got free time sometimes. I'm ready for
That's
like
fair enough.
there's no way I'm letting that happen. Not on my watch.
That's fair enough. Listen, we'll move on from Back to the Future and any other sort of
Yeah.
volatile questions I may ask about
Thank
that.
you. I appreciate that.
But I think one thing that I'd love to kind of get into with you is, yeah, we spoke obviously before we started recording, and I couldn't help but notice that you a lot of body art, you have a lot of tattoos, and you were saying that a lot of them are kind of based on movie quotes and parts from movies. And I kind of love to understand what like your first tattoo was, and then like how did kind of that idea to build out that sort of body art, like referencing back to movies, came from?
I mean, obviously I knew, being a movie buff, that like if I was to get my first tattoo, I wanted it to be movie related, just to kind of like see what it was like to get a tattoo. So I got like the red pill from the Matrix on my wrist over here. And it's not a particularly great tattoo, you know, like the guy kind of made it look like a red hot dog. It's not great.
Okay.
But it was just like, as soon as I got it though, like it felt special to me, and like I loved what it represented, because it's not just a movie I love, but also it's kind of like me embracing my curiosity, taking the path less traveled, kind of, you know, going down that rabbit hole instead of playing life complacently and living a boring, meaningless life. Like it just always kind of represented something to me. And all the movie tattoos that I've gotten since do the same thing. They not only remind me of movies that I love, but they also have this deeper meaning. And like the more I would get, like the more I would want. So it's just like from the Matrix, it just sprung into all different kinds of movies, whether they be dramas or comic book movies or whatever it happens to be. And it just kind of became this like movie themed canvas where like if someone suggests, hey, you should get this TV tattoo, or you should get this other tattoo that's not movie related, I'm like, nope. If it's not movie related, I'm out. So but like I love all of them equally, and I'm actually about to get a new one in a few weeks.
Awesome. And how many tattoos do you have in total, if you don't mind me asking?
I have I think I have 14 now, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think I'm getting 15 in a few weeks, which is going to be an Up themed tattoo for my grandparents.
Nice. That's a nice little callback to your family. There's something. Tattoos are always very subjective, I feel, and as long as they mean something to like the individual, then that's really all that matters. I know, again, not to bring this back to myself, but I have a terrible tattoo of the country of origin on my back, and my mother, when she found out that I got it, did not speak to me for 3 weeks, which, as a 14-year-old kid, was not exactly the best moment of my life, shall we say?
Right.
But I'm so happy to hear that the experiences you have with your tattoos are so strong and that they're so meaningful to you. But the one thing that I would love to talk to you about is your YouTube career. And you had a channel, Chatalbash Reviews, or Tom Chatalbash, one or the other, apologies. And you made the decision to switch to a new channel. Why was that? Was that just you felt like there was a need to start creatively fresh, or what was the reason behind that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple explanation for me. I kind of felt like I was in this creative rut where my channel didn't feel like it was really going anywhere. You know, my subscriber count and views, they kind of were just staying in this one place that I wasn't really satisfied with. And, you know, I felt like I was still putting out good content. I just felt like the work wasn't producing the results that I wanted to. And I kind of just felt stuck. Like I needed a fresh start. Like I needed to try something new. So I decided I wanted to create a new channel and just kind of start fresh and maybe kind of rebuild myself and maybe rebrand myself a little bit, where get better production value, be a little bit more consistent. You know, my channel took a big dip, my old channel rather, because, you know, I went to college and that took up a lot of my time, obviously. So, you know, when I got back to having the channel full time again, you know, obviously that core audience, not all of that core audience was there, which was understandable. You know, they want consistent videos and I wasn't able to give that to them. But when I started this new channel, I wanted not only the videos to look and sound better, but I wanted the reviews to feel more well-rounded. I wanted it to be more consistent, and I wanted to grow an audience more organically, where I felt like I was constantly kind of on this upward incline rather than staying stagnant. And that's where I feel like I've gotten to over the past couple of years, where now I'm really happy with my channel. I love the audience I'm getting. I'm literally getting the same views now at around 700 subscribers that I got when I was at 12,000 on my old channel.
Wow.
So clearly something's working on this new channel where my audience is definitely kept around and they're being more interactive, and I'm seeing my views consistently go up. And I feel like there's an audience there, waiting for my reviews, which makes me want to make more videos. That inspiration's back, that enjoyment is back. So for me, even though the subscriber count right now isn't where it was, there's a steady incline. And also I feel way more creatively satisfied than I did on that previous channel. So can't complain.
Was it a big decision, though, to walk away from over 10,000 subscribers to be like, okay, I'm going to start from zero again, though? Or was it literally based off where you were at and where you wanted to restart yourself from almost?
I mean, it was definitely a decision I, went over multiple times because, obviously the YouTube landscape changed drastically in the year since I started. There wasn't a ton of reviewers when I first started. And then, nowadays there's reviewers everywhere. Everyone's got a camera, everyone's got an opinion about a movie. So it's definitely harder to stand out. And I knew that was going to be a challenge, and it continues to be a challenge. But at the end of the day, I knew I needed to do what was best for me. And I wanted to continue making YouTube videos, but I wanted to feel like I was still enjoying making YouTube videos. And in the end, I feel like I definitely made the right choice, and I couldn't be happier with where things are now. And, I'm thinking optimistically toward the future. So I'm enjoying myself. So really, I have no qualms about any decision I made in the past, especially that one. You
mention a word there, challenge, and I want to move into another challenge that's happening now in your life, and that is the FCL. So obviously
what a segue.
I'm trying my best here.
Woo,
but so March was when the FCL was launched, and you were one of the first names that was announced to be competing. What has it been like getting prepared beforehand and actually getting into the FCL and showing off your knowledge?
I mean, going into it, I was super excited because, I had watched the Schmoedown before, and, I had kind of like in my mind played the games like as I watched them just to kind of see how I would do in those situations. But granted, you're not in those games. You don't have the nerves. You're not being asked these questions on the spot. You're like, oh, that question's so easy. I don't know why they didn't get that one, as you're shoving popcorn into your face. But then you're there under the spotlight. It's a whole different story. But in terms of preparing, I mean, I didn't really, I tried to study the categories that maybe I didn't feel the strongest in, but I felt pretty confident in the knowledge I already had. And, if I knew if I lost, there would be things to learn and things to study, especially. And after playing the 2 matches I have, even though I didn't win either of those matches, I felt like I played pretty strongly. And also I learned a lot of how I want to play in the future, and also things I want to utilize in the future, and also categories maybe I need to delve into a little bit more. So not only has it been a blast, not only have I met great people, but also it's been this great learning experience where, I'm reminded, yes, I do know a fair amount about movies, but there's always more I can know, and it's best to stay humble than to be cocky. So,
yeah, because obviously your first match was against Vanessa Simmons from Late to the Party, and as she's gone on, she is now she's 2-1, apologies, in her career now, and she's only missed 2 questions in the 3 matches this season. So straight away, you were getting a real acid test first up for, say, the audience like myself who wouldn't have known you, but would have known Vanessa. So, you were really put in, in
I was
the
just
fire
thrown into the
away.
deep end. Yeah.
But even with that, though, you were only 2 numbers away from forcing Vanessa to hit a 5 to beat you as well. So to that point, there's so much that still you can pick out from the defeats that you can bring forward with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a baptism by fire. I mean, once I had seen her matches, I was like, oh, so it's gonna be like that. All right. And not only is Vanessa a super lovely person, a super nice competitor to play against, but super knowledgeable. And the fact that I've played as well as I did against her, I felt really great about that. So even when I lost, it was such a good game where it was just back and forth, and we had such a good time playing each other that at the end of the day, it was a little bit of a bummer that I lost. But the fact that I got that close to beating someone who of her stature, I felt really good about that. And I could definitely tell that there were people out there that are like, oh, okay, so this is someone who I shouldn't just write off just yet. And that was a great feeling.
Because that's the other thing as well, is that for a lot of the fans who would see the draft board and then see the people who weren't picked up and would maybe only know people by the name, it's very hard to kind of, I suppose, connect to that person straight off without seeing them. So for you to be able to go in, hit a perfect round, and unfortunately just get clipped by a 5, you know, from an audience point of view, to that point, yes, Tom Chatalbash is a guy that we need to kind of keep an eye out for and know what he's capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a great feeling seeing kind of the feedback from the fans who were watching after the fact, because, you know, obviously when you're feeling the sting of defeat, you don't want to look at the comments because you're probably like, oh, they're going to think I'm terrible and that I don't know anything and that I'm a stupid poopy head and I shouldn't be in this league. But, you know, like seeing those nice kind of encouraging comments meant a lot. And, you know, kind of hearing from certain people after the match, like people like yourself, you know, other people in the league saying, hey, that was a really great game you played. You know, I can't wait to see what you do next. Or even people just introducing themselves afterwards, you know, making those kind of connections, which is great. I mean, that's one thing I've really appreciated about the FCL is that everyone in the league who I've met has been so gracious and so welcoming and so friendly. So it's been worth it just for the people I've met alone.
What, if you had to say one thing, has been the biggest surprise that's kind of caught you off guard since you started competing?
Just how nerve-wracking it is. I mean, I could tell you like maybe like 5 minutes before the match starts and all the, like the previews are playing and, you know, Steph and Brad are doing their whole intro thing. Like my heart is like beating out of its chest. I'm like, how do you use a whiteboard? What are my hands? Like, it's just becomes this whole thing where I feel like I'm having like a panic attack. And then like, you know, it's really not until that first question hits and I feel like I know the answer where I'm like, okay, I can breathe now. Let's start to think about what, you know, we have at our disposal. Let's, you know, not try to overthink things. Let's not rush to any conclusions. It's really just trying to overcome those nerves that I didn't think was going to be as big of a challenge as it ended up being. So I'd say in those first two matches, it's really just the nerves that really kind of can really either be your best friend in a way and also your biggest enemy because you're trying to think clearly while also trying to like breathe and calm yourself. So that was definitely the biggest surprise. I didn't think I was going to be as nervous as I was, but, you know, also I think it was just kind of a mix of being nervous, but also being really excited to play. But it was definitely more so nerves, and overcoming that was definitely the biggest surprise for me. Definitely harder than I thought it would be.
Well, unfortunately, you are 0-2 at the moment, but I do genuinely believe that all it will take is one win, and then Chatalbash will be rocketing up those rankings completely. And that's my honest opinion, because I think that there's enough in you that all it just takes is getting on the right side of a W. And then once you know how to win
you
once,
need that one.
You just need the one, and then you know exactly what you want to do and how to do it then moving forward. But I think to finish out, I have a few quick fire questions that I want to throw at you.
Go for it, man.
So about 4 or 5 here. Whatever the first thing comes into your head, just shout. So what is your favorite drink? And it can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Okay. I would, if it's an alcoholic drink, I'm a tequila guy. I'm also a big like whiskey sour guy. Love those. If it's not alcoholic, oh God, love water. Love water. Don't need it to be like flavored or to have bubbles. I do love some water. I know I'm endlessly fascinating, and I know you're thinking to yourself, "Wow, I picked a great guest." But I don't know. I would say water or like seltzer. I'm sorry, I'm boring. I'm like an 80-year-old man in like a 27-year-old's body. I freaking enjoy Raisin Bran. I enjoy Raisin Bran. Okay,
that's allowed, Tom. So, what was the last song that you sung to yourself?
Oh God, the last song that I sung to myself. Oh my God, I don't know. What's the last song that I sung to myself? Probably something by Bo Burnham. I've been listening to his new special like nonstop. Probably like his 30 song, his song about turning 30, because that's like right over the horizon for me. So couldn't relate to it more, and it's so damn catchy.
Is that the one with the All My Stupid Friends Are Getting Married album? Is that?
Yep. That is indeed the song.
Yes, I've heard it on the radio a couple of times. It wouldn't be for me, shall we say? But my girlfriend is very much into him at the moment, so I'm hearing it a lot when I'm chilling out with her.
She's got good taste.
She does. To be fair, only for I wouldn't be where I am. Let's be honest, Tom. But I feel like I know the answer to this question already. But what is the most rewatchable movie of all time in your eyes?
Ooh, God. I mean, I could say Back to the Future, but there are so many great rewatchable movies. Like, I think Anchorman's endlessly rewatchable. Goodfellas is endlessly rewatchable to me. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Dear Lord, I love that movie. Yeah, that's just like a handful of them. I could go all day. There's just so many good ones.
If you were given the opportunity to fly into space, would you take it?
Nah.
No, not for you.
There's just something that's gonna go wrong. I'm gonna do something stupid. Like they're gonna say, "Oh, you'll be fine if you don't do this one thing," and that's when I'll be like distracted doing something, and I'll miss that part of the speech, and I'll be like the one guy who's just like endlessly floating in space, wondering where his life went. That'll be me.
So no to space. Confirming
So
no to space.
No to space, in case I wasn't clear. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And the final quickfire question: you're sitting down, you're on your couch, you've a Nintendo 64. What do you play first? Super Mario Brothers or Donkey Kong?
Super Mario Brothers. Come on now.
Okay. So that's a solid choice. Solid choice. I believe that the first ever appearance of Mario is actually in Donkey Kong.
Okay.
It's a random fun fact I found out during the day when I was.
I'm gonna act like I believe you because that's probably right, and I haven't done my research. So
if you find
you win this round,
if you find something that is to the contrary, do let me know. But Tom Chatalbash, this has been absolutely wonderful. Please let the people know where they can find you and anything that you want to plug. Please do.
If you're looking for me on the old YouTubes, you can find me at youtube.com/Chatalbash reviews. That's where I do my movie reviews, TV reviews. I do some viewers' choice reviews. I also interview some other movie reviewers that you may or may not know of. And if you're looking to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, simply type in Tom Chatalbash and you'll see my dumb face. And then that's when you'll know that you found the right person. So that's all I got.
Tom, you've been absolutely fantastic as always. My name is Keekle Duff. Again, you find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keekle Duff Media. Check us out here every week, this week in the FCL, as we break down all the week's actions live every Tuesday on Twitch, twitch.tv/Schmoedown. And Tom Chatalbash, once again, thank you so much for your time. And this is the end of our Spotlight series featuring you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Keith. Happy to be back anytime.
No problem, Tom. Take care.